What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the D.O.G podcast. My name is Drew with German and OC as always. Today we're going to talk a little bit of how I told you so on the Eagles being frauds and how Aaron Rodgers still owns the fuck out of the Dallas Cowboys.
Taking shots at your own team, man. A lot of
Hey,
courage there,
they
dude.
they deserve it.
He's beating me to it before I get
I,
into it. That's why.
I
Yeah,
had
dude.
to. I had to.
Let's talk about that game and let's talk. I mean, everybody else is talking about of how Aaron Rodgers kind of did own them. Let's talk about that Mike McCarthy call on the
Why do
fourth.
you only want to talk about the Cowboys when they lose? How come when the Cowboys win, you're never like, let's talk about the Cowboys. Let's go, but
Because
let's
it's
break down.
because
Every
it's
time the Cowboys
so
win, you're like,
much better.
Drew, you're so biased. We're just gonna skip it. And okay, they lose, and now let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about
What
it.
do you
Let's
want to talk about?
Let's talk about
What do you want to talk about?
Mike McCarthy's call because I feel like every time that the Cowboys lose, you always have like a rant to go on. I feel like
Yeah.
this is your
This
chance.
is my
your
chance.
chance. This is
What do
your
you want?
time to shine, man.
What do you want me to start my rant on first?
Go ahead. What did you have in mind?
Okay. So I feel like I'm in OC shoes right now because OC for the last year and a half, you have been so upset with the Dolphins fan base, right? And how they talk about Dak Prescott or not Dak Tua. Okay, I feel like Dak Prescott getting a lot of slander this week for his performance, like Tua was, even though I don't think his performance was that bad. A lot of people are going to talk about those two picks. If you really look at it, those two picks aren't his fault. There were poor route running by the receivers that led to the two interceptions. That's all I really got to say about that. I thought like Dak played pretty well. He didn't really throw the ball a lot. They still ran a lot. They're pretty efficient. He threw a couple of quality deep balls. I think all in all, he played well, other than the two interceptions that weren't necessarily his fault.
I mean,
Let's talk about
he gave him a 14-point lead. It's not like
yeah. No, I
yeah,
mean the biggest disappointment in my opinion is the defense.
right.
We've been talking about how the defense is the reason why these Cowboys are gonna be good. The reason why the Cowboys could be successful in the playoffs are because of this defense, and they fucking got bent over backwards this last week. They couldn't stop the run as usual. No shocker there, but they also let some rookie who drops more balls than he catches like look like a fucking MVP out there. 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, like outrageous. Anthony Brown, I'm so over Anthony Brown. That dude's getting burned by fucking JV members. It's crazy. And then he gets burned and then gets concussed on the same play. Like how? What kind of fucking slapdick gets burnt and concussed on the same play? Like Anthony Brown, Cowboy secondary, of course. Um, Micah had a pretty quiet game. He really wasn't much of a presence, but that kind of has a lot to do with he played a lot of more of a traditional linebacker role. He didn't really play down the line nearly as much. Cowboys were out of linebacker, so he had to drop
Right.
back. And that I think that really changed the game plan a lot because Micah, what he's been doing really well is pressuring the quarterback, getting sacks, and affecting the offense in that way. You have to avoid Micah in that sense because he's playing a different role. With the role he played this last week was almost like a spy, almost the whole game, an Aaron Rodgers spy and a running back spy, and it clearly didn't work for the Cowboys. So the defense was pretty subpar. You go into overtime, and Cowboys are driving, they're running the ball. Pollard looks good. The third string Davis looks like he's running really well. We get a couple of stupid dumbass penalties on us that back us up. Fucking offsides on a receiver. What the hell is this? Freshman high school football? And then a holding call on our left guard. A very common occurrence for the Dallas Cowboys to get a holding call on the left guard. Um, Go into fourth down, and I don't like the go for it. It it's easy to say that now because they didn't convert. Um, but what I really didn't like was if you look at the film, the receivers are running like 17 yards downfield. It's 4th and 4. Why are we going for the home run and not for 5 or 6 yards? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's why when Dak drops back, there's absolutely nothing for him to look at, and basically takes a sack. You probably should go for the field goal right there and try to put pressure on Aaron Rodgers. and let the defense be what's really propelled you to the situation that they're in. Step up and really save their ass from the poor performance. But I don't know. It as soon as we didn't convert that, I said, well, fuck that. There, it's over. Aaron Rodgers not fucking this up. He already fucked it up at the end of regulation. Like he had an opportunity to do that at the end of regulation, and it didn't happen. And so in overtime, I was extremely disappointed. All right, there's my rant.
See, I was gonna say, did you enjoy that? I mean, you
I
you
felt
look
it
like
felt
you
so
were
good.
having fun.
It
Like
felt a little good to get it all off my chest.
fourth down call. What did you think about the fourth down call, OC?
I mean, like Andrew said, right? There's like some instances where like you only need 4 yards, right? You're try to work the middle of the field because that's what I mean seemed to be working,
Right.
and then I mean, and you couldn't really defend like the pressure that he was getting, right? But like to that point, even in overtime, they were moving the ball up the field pretty like nicely. Like they
Pretty
were
easily. It looked good.
they weren't struggling, but
Right.
again, the same thing that like I know Dallas has been good, but like when they've been bad, like we can always point to the coaching as part of the problem, right? Like the decision making towards the end of games or towards the end of the half, like that's what's been like the difference. So I think you see it again, like yeah, maybe you have a better play call, but I mean you
Right.
also, I mean it's borderline because you're kind of like at the 40, right? To have your kicker kick in that kind of environment, but I mean, I mean, we could sit on this like on this couch and be like, "There's a million other plays that you could have called," but it is what it is. Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's McCarthy again. So and you know he's gonna do him and blow
Right.
a call or do something. Just the two stats that stuck out to me the most was just they said it. And I mean, you see it all the time where they kind of like they put up these stats, but those the Cowboys were 195-0 when leading by 14 going into the fourth quarter.
Is at that moment I knew we could be fucked.
Yeah,
Those little interesting stat lines that seems to jinx everything. Like
yeah. It's
when
just
they
like,
present it. Yeah.
and as a fan like of that team, you're probably like, why would you bring that up right
Right.
now? Like,
Yeah.
it's like when the kicker's about to hit the game tying or game winner.
He's been 98% from here all year long.
Right.
He
Well,
has his
you just done fucked him.
I feel like that
he
happens
has
more on Fox, right? Fox like pulls that out. Like, do you think they're sitting there waiting with those stats? Like, let's see.
How are we gonna fuck him this time?
And it's always some weird fucking stats. Like when he hits it from the left hash and this, in between the 40 and the 41-yard line.
After November
Right.
15th,
Yeah,
he
exactly.
is key.
And when it's a crescent moon, he misses it to the wide left or something like that.
the only stat that mattered was that Aaron Rodgers is now 8-2 against the Cowboys all time. So
This whole
That's the
week
only
building up to it, everybody was or a lot of the Cowboy fans were pretty confident about it, but I kept saying it's just like Aaron Rodgers likes to pull shit out of his ass every once in a while, right? And I felt like this was the perfect timing for him to do that. Like with everything going on throughout the season, primetime game, it was like America's game of the week or whatever that Fox presented. This was the perfect time for him. And it played out perfect for him and he I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say he got lucky, but I mean, the Cowboys made it easier for him for sure. I feel like it was more the Cowboys beating themselves than the Packers actually winning, right?
I mean, I don't know exactly for how many yards he threw, but 100 yards came on like 3 throws, and it was
Those
to
big ones to Watson,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and it was like 103 yards. All that had to have been a little bit, almost about half of Rodgers' total yards for the game.
Right. Let's go ahead. Let's move on from that game. Let's go over to what a disaster that Las Vegas is right now, and how the tweet that you sent us earlier, OC, how Josh McDaniels is pretty much the man for the next 2 years over there in Las Vegas because of the Raiders not having enough money or whatever to pay a new head coach to come in.
Insert screenshot of tweet here.
Right, just put it in. What do you guys think? You guys, who's at fault here in Las Vegas? Like, who's the main guy that we need to be pointing fingers at?
well, let's just
The
start
owner.
oh yeah, let's just start at the top. Like
Right.
the reason, little backstory. The reason they moved out of Oakland was because Mark Davis couldn't afford to pay for a new contract or a new stadium.
Right. And
And
you
the
pretty much give a middle finger to a majority of your fan base, right? Who's in California. A lot of them
yeah,
are like from like the Stockton area and
yeah,
even the
little
Central
Bay Area,
Valley.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Raider fans, some of the most loyal fans in all of football.
Right. We
But
can't stand them. They're hard to put up
I
with,
know,
but
but hey, you know what?
they
They're
are the
ride or
most
die.
loyal.
They
Yeah.
are ride or die for the Raiders.
Go
but
ahead, OC.
yeah, just the backstory. So they moved out, and they took the deal to Vegas because Vegas said, "Oh, you're gonna bring a pro football franchise to us. We'll take care of everything. Just comp us with suites for our guests, and we will pay." That's why you see the resort fees kind of go up in Vegas, and
Right.
they basically just tax the the money out of people that came to visit, right? With staying in their hotels and stuff. So
Can afford to do it. That's the city to
yeah,
do it. It's
Right.
all
so
visitors. It's all the
so
revenues from visitors.
hey, he didn't have to pay a dime out of his pocket. Vegas took care of everything for him. So that's why you see the tweet that we talked about earlier, where it says like he was basically they didn't have any money, right?
Right.
So they can't fire him because they can't afford to pay him for however X amount of years that they have him and pay another coach on top of that. So I think you start
Right.
at the top with Mark Davis for not having enough money because you see a lot of these NFL owners, they all have side businesses, right?
Right.
I don't know
They
what
all have
Mark
their
Davis
side
does.
company. Yeah.
Like what
The
does Mark
business is Raiders.
Yeah, what does Mark Davis do besides
Mhm.
the Raiders? I don't know anything that he does.
Right. And you kind of have to start to look at some of his hires, right? With some of the general managers that he's hired and some of the guys that they brought into the building and how they've completely missed on their draft picks, right? Like it's been like the first I think it's been like the past 4 or 5 years where they completely just missed in the first round, right? And even this offseason, just Chandler Jones is starting to look like it was one of the worst signings of the year. And then it's actually kind of starting to seem like the Devonte Adams trade might have been a mistake. Do you guys think? You guys think that was kind of a little bit of a mistake there, bringing in Devonte Adams?
I don't think so. You have so much belief in this quarterback. You got to get this quarterback weapon. You don't want to have to say at some point this year, next year, Derek Carr's good, but if he had a receiver other than Hunter Renfro, he'd be good, and they did that. Um, again, I'll go to bat for Derek Carr for forever, man.
What,
With him and Devontae. Uh,
what about you, OC? What do you think, man?
I just think this team is being ran just like the franchise. They're both in shambles. Like they're putting this team into the dirt with their hires, but it starts at the top with their owner. Like it seems like he's clueless at the top. So I don't like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So you can see why the McDaniel's hires like everyone's criticizing it. And we sat here last week and we said if you lose to a guy that was an ESPN analyst a week ago or 5 days ago, like
yep.
you should be out.
Right.
But now we know why he's not out because they don't have money to pay.
They can't
him.
afford. They can't afford to pay him to sit on the couch.
And do you think the Raiders would have reacted a lot sooner than what we're seeing now? Had they had money, do you think that maybe he would have been fired weeks ago? Or do you think it's probably this we be in the
I
same
think this
situation
would.
now?
I think that it would have been roughly the same situation. This would have been his firing,
Mm.
only because I mean, what they're 2-8 now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think 2-7. You're still upset with the head coach. You're not looking good. 2-6. You're upset, but you're not firing the guy in his first 8 games, especially with a team that they're deep, pretty good on offense. Defensively, you're shit. You're not firing him over that start that fast. But I think OC nailed it right there when he said you can't lose to an interim head coach that a week and a half ago was sitting at ESPN doing nothing. And this guy
Well, I
walked
mean,
into the office and he's just like, let me take over this team and hey, let me lead them to a win.
let's be fair though. I mean, the Colts still have other guys in the building. It's not just Jeff Saturday, right? Like it kind of seems like that always kind of happens is when like a team just fires their head coach, then the team turns around and they play with like a different chip on their shoulder and they end up winning.
Yeah, but
The same thing happened with Carolina this year, right?
yeah, but when they typically hire from within though.
I know,
Like
but
like
I
like
mean,
the Raiders last year, right? Bisaccia becomes the head coach, and
yeah.
they get this little spark, and they do well. This is someone from outside.
No, I know, I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying like it's just the initial reaction, right? The initial game, they always end up doing well, and then the rest of the season they kind of just fizzle out.
Hmm.
Bisaccia last year, he took them to. I feel like he even made them even better than what they were in the beginning of the year, right? Because they made that
Right.
run at the end to make the playoffs. But I think, well, I kind of want to bring up a little bit of the comments that Derek Carr made and the comments that Devonte Adams made after the game. You know, when Derek Carr was all emotional and he's like he looks just beaten down and the grind is starting to get to him, and the comments he made about guys not being bought in, and then Devonte kind of said a similar thing of guys not being bought in. Do you guys think there's the main issue is probably within the locker room?
Well, to be bought in, right, you need
Mm,
the leadership of your head coach.
right.
And if you don't got that, then you're not buying in. If you don't have faith in your head coach, you're not buying in. So I think that's where it starts. It starts at the
Mm-hmm.
top and works their way down. And to a certain point though, it's Derek Carr and Devonte Adams as captains to make people buy in, right? If
Mm-hmm.
your head coach can't do it, as a captain of this team, as a quarterback of this team, it's
Mm-hmm.
your job to do that. And so for him to say they're not buying in, it starts with the head coach, but then you're right after that, dude. You got to be the next guy up to start having these people buy in.
Right. I mean, we talked about it before with like, OC. I mean, you've coached for years. When you talk about like discipline and a fire that has to come within from a team, it can't always come from the coaches, right? It's got to come from the leaders from within. What do you think, man?
Yeah, so like they talk about buying in, and I'm sure that probably pissed some people off within the locker room, but it's the truth. I mean, I look at the defensive side of the ball and how nobody has stepped up, and you just made Matt Ryan, who was benched like 2 weeks ago, you made him look like a Super Bowl MVP again.
He looked like
Like,
Lamar Jackson just running
yeah,
down the sideline in that
like
40-yard dash.
how is Matt Ryan of all people gaining a first down, running 40 yards untouched? Like
Right.
no one was even within like a 20-yard diameter around him,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you can point to the offense. At least they're scoring. You know, they didn't score on that final drive,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, at some point, you have to stop Jonathan Taylor, who hasn't been doing anything this year, but somehow goes off against the Raiders. Somehow you have to get a stop against Matt Ryan, which you couldn't do either. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I look at the defense and basically like you don't have any leaders on that side of the ball.
Right. And I mean, yeah, we can talk about like it's the defense's fault and all we want, but I mean, there's also I think there's aspects too of the offense where they're not closing out games either, right? Because you've had three 17-point leads, right? Think about if they would have won those games now and how a completely different season they would have had. I mean, you had three games where you're up 17 points. One game against the Saints where you got completely shut out, okay, whatever. But 17-point leads and you can't close the game out. Like there's got to be issues there, not just from the defense but also from the offense, right? What do you guys think?
To a certain point, but regardless of the 17-point lead, let's just say that they weren't 17-point leads,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at the total score. I mean, they're putting up numbers on the road, um, not all games, but a few games, and putting up numbers at home where they're putting up 24, 28 points, and they're losing. You can't necessarily look at Derek Carr and be like, what the fuck? Like
Mm-hmm.
why can't you score more than 28 points? That's a good score. Like that's the same thing I look at the Cowboys the way that they played this last weekend. 24 points in the cold at Lambeau is pretty decent for an offense.
Mm-hmm.
It's the defense's job, like OC said, to help them out.
Right. No, I mean, I'm not completely putting it on the offense, but I don't think it's also fair to completely put it on the defense, right? Like it's if you kind of have to look at it as a team altogether because looking at some of their scores, I mean, they've the first game against the Chargers, they put up 19 points. Then they put up 23 points and then 22 points. You know, against Denver, they put up 30 points. Against the Chiefs, that was a close game, 29 points. Okay, big time game. But then they put zero against the Saints and 20 against the Jaguars. I mean, they're not scoring a shit ton of points either, right? I mean, those are two touchdowns and a few field goals when they're putting up 20 points. right? So it's not like you can completely put it on the defense and expect the defense to start making plays. It's got to be all around. I mean, it's not on just Derek Carr. I think it has to do maybe with some of the play calling because Josh Jacobs has an awesome year so far, but a lot of his yardage is coming in like the first half. Like a lot of the second half, they decide not to run the ball anymore.
Las Vegas is 14th in the NFL in points per game.
No, I know, I get
Yeah,
that, I get
yeah,
that.
yeah. So I see what you're saying. That you know what, maybe if the offense can close out a game
Right.
and stop scoring when they have such a big lead, that could help. But at the same time, defense shouldn't be blowing 17-point leads. I think it's more like 75% offense, 25 or 75% defense, 25% offense on that fault. I mean, being the 14th, best in the league, you should have at least a 500 record or better.
14 best. I mean, that's middle of the pack, dude. That's average, right?
And I just
That's
said
there's third.
around
This
five.
out of
I just
32
said
teams.
500. I just said 500 or better, didn't I?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
No. Yeah, I get that. But what I'm trying to say is just we can't just be looking at the defensive side of the ball when. Yeah, you have 17-point leads, and you shouldn't be giving up 17-point leads. But I mean, the other team practices too, right? The offense is going to score points. We live, it's a league now where offense is the priority, right? People want to see points. Offenses are going to score, right?
only
What do
three
you get?
teams in front of them are not in the playoffs currently.
Okay. what's the what's the
I'm
point?
just throwing that out there.
Just
No,
blame
yeah, I get it.
everybody top to bottom. Just blame
Yeah,
everybody
I agree.
top to
I
bottom.
agree, for sure. And it's just some of the decisions they made from the top down. Like you guys brought up Mark Davis already. The guy's running the team into shambles. What do you guys think?
Yeah, yeah. It the Raiders are in a real shitty spot right now. Real shitty spot.
Anything else you guys want to bring up from the past week? How about the Bills and Vikings game and how entertaining that was? Your boy,
Wild, bro.
your boy Josh
Wild.
Allen kind of shooting himself in the foot with fumbling the snap.
Yeah, yeah. How about it's kind of funny, like the 559 against the 559 crime we see out there. That was kind of cool, right?
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool watching Josh Allen against Kendricks. That was pretty awesome to watch, and watching him try to tackle Josh Allen in the open field was actually pretty awesome to watch too.
Yeah,
I mean, that guy's a top tier linebacker. I think he's one of the best linebackers in the league, and made
yeah.
him look kind of mediocre. What do you guys think?
I mean, Josh Allen. We're looking at top tier linebacker against a top tier quarterback, so I think it would be no surprise either way. I think the biggest surprise of all, maybe not that big of a surprise because it wasn't prime time game, but Kirk Cousins just coming out to Buffalo and just like fucking putting on all the chains and just said, "I am the captain now." Like that's kind of impressive. But
Making
then
some big boy throws.
I had to remember the game started at 1, even though it was dark by the time the game ended. It did start at 1, so it wasn't prime time. So Kirk Cousins couldn't show up.
Yeah. What are you gonna say,
Yeah,
LC?
there was a comment about that how like Kirk Cousins at 1 o'clock games compared to primetime games is just a whole different animal. So
Just
that
a
was pretty
stud,
hilarious.
bro.
Yeah, dude.
But I think my biggest takeaway is just the last couple games how much Josh Allen has struggled in the second half of games.
Right.
So they said he hasn't thrown a touchdown in the second half since the Chiefs game.
Mm.
Was it like 3 weeks ago?
So yeah, that was like 3 weeks ago. So he's been struggling like with turnovers and just late in the game, his decision making, and you've seen it. It cost him that in overtime. It cost him the chance to go potentially win the game or at least tie it to keep it going. So I don't know what's going on with Josh Allen in second halves of games. I mean, we talked about the Raiders not being able to close out games. Well, Josh Allen hasn't been able to close out a game these last week against the Jets and then a couple days ago against the Vikings.
Do you guys think it's maybe it has to do with a lot of these teams not having running games? Like one of the reasons why maybe the Raiders aren't closing out or the Bills aren't closing out is they're not running the ball enough in the second half.
I
Yeah,
don't know the stats, but I thought Josh Jacobs is having a decent year.
No, I said it before. He's having a really good year, but I'm talking about like when it comes down to it to close games out, right? Are they running the ball enough or not enough?
Well, you would think with the 17 point leads that you're talking about, the Raiders would run the ball more.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly how they are. I really haven't sat
But
down
also,
enough
but
to.
also with the Bills, right? The
Yeah,
Bills. Like, do you guys
yeah.
think them not having a running game at the end is kind of causing them games?
Well, yeah, because you're putting all the pressure on your quarterback. So the
Right.
old
Hmm.
saying is what? You live by the gun, you die by the gun. So in this
Mm-hmm.
case, it's you live by the gunslinger, you die by the gunslinger, right?
Hmm.
So you're seeing all the pressure be front loaded onto these quarterbacks because yeah, they might not be able to run the
Mm-hmm.
game down late in the game where they need these situations to put a game away.
Mm-hmm.
And also you see coverage breakdowns. I mean, it's 4th and 18 against Kirk Cousins, and somehow Justin Jefferson made one of the probably the most ridiculous
Right.
catches that you'll ever see. Like, it's
The
probably better than OBJ's catch against the Cowboys.
I think so. It's like physics defying, right? Like it's
Like the
just
DB was literally trying to
right.
rip the ball from him, and he's just like tugged it away.
One handed
I,
took it
I
away.
think I think the way it looked, I think the DB kind of maybe helped in catching it because I think it was like them like trying to pull it from each other, like the momentum. Had he maybe just batted it away just completely, but the fact that he was trying to hang on to it and catch it himself, I think that kind of helped Justin Jefferson get his hand underneath it and pull it from him, right? I
Hmm.
feel like it's just the momentum of both of them trying to pull it is kind of what helped Justin Jefferson be able to like snatch it away from him in the last minute, which I think which is incredible. Like you watch it over and over again, and you kind of just ask yourself, how the fuck did he do that? That was incredible,
It's
incredible
ridiculous.
catch. Yeah. Um, but I mean, also too, like a big mistake by Josh Allen, right? Fumbling at the 1 yard line, like
Yeah.
routine snap, right? He goes to run a quarterback sneak. You think maybe just the moment got too big for him, or he just kind of just shot the gun there a little bit, trying to pull his hands out of there.
Yeah, I don't know about the moment being too big for him. I mean, he's played in far bigger games than that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's just I watched it a couple of times. It looks like it's almost like something you see happen a lot in high school, right? People are trying to turn their head to run upfield before they catch the ball. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's just trying to go forward before he even receives the handoff, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just a little
Yeah.
mistiming there. That's all.
Mm-hmm. He
I
kind of
think
just
he's
got a little antsy.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the ball's on like the 1 inch yard line. He was just trying to think about, all right, I need to get at least half a yard right here. By the
Right.
time the snap hits his hands, he's already going forward, and the ball's stuck on the ground, and Kendricks falls on it. So
Hmm.
Just misfortune, man. And then I mean, he made up for it, right? I mean, he took him into
Yeah,
overtime, and
that
you
drive
know,
was nice.
it was a big time drive, even though it was kind of I guess assisted by the incomplete pass that the
Yep.
league missed. Why do you guys think they missed that? You guys think it's just the Bills are just moving too
That's
fast?
I don't know because I feel like in almost every game, even if it's kind of like, hey, that was a clear catch, the referees stop and they're like,
Right.
hey, we're just gonna take a quick look at it, but that they didn't, and that was kind of mind blowing to me. And it's not like with the naked eye, it's like, oh, that was clear. With the naked eye, you're like, man, that was kind of close. So
Right.
I don't know. That's something I feel like most of the time you get reviewed instantly, and it not even close there.
I was kind of
it,
surprised that they didn't stop it right away. Yeah.
yeah, credit to Josh Allen for getting up to the line, snapping the
Right.
next place, so they couldn't look at it. But as the league, like Andrew says, they review everything. Like some of these stuff
Mm-hmm.
they even review like doesn't even need to be looked at, but they still look at it. And a play like that in this kind of moment, they're going down to try to tie the game, and you're gonna like not even stop the game, the ball is out of bounds, so you didn't even have to stop the game clock. You could have just, hey, we're gonna stop this play. We're gonna take a
Mm-hmm.
look at this, but they didn't do that either. So that was kind of like mind-boggling. Like, how do you not look at that?
Right. And then they go, and then he goes on, Josh Allen, and throws the interception at the end. Kind of just, I guess, doesn't see Peterson there coming sneaking in. He who kind of undercut the route. Do you guys think it was just a boneheaded mistake, or he was just overly aggressive?
I think that just kind of looks like overly aggressive, just trying to force into a spot that doesn't need to be forced into.
Well, you could see in the play he double clutches, so you can see he wanted to go originally there, and then he just said, "Screw it, I'm gonna throw it there anyway," and it just
Just
throw it
took a
there.
shot.
Yeah, just took a shot.
I mean, Josh Allen's games are pretty entertaining. I mean, even the losses, right? They came down to the wire, right? Against Miami, who had they been able to stop the clock, they probably would have won. And the same thing against the Jets, right? They were like down to the wire, and then throws an interception there in the red zone. Um, so it's 9 o'clock already, you guys. You guys want to go ahead and head over to the next part of the
Hold on.
episode?
Can we just spend like 3 minutes talking about the fraudulent Eagles finally losing?
Oh, we want to bring up the Eagles.
Yeah. Can we
ahead,
just
man.
bring up how you guys both were like, oh, the Eagles by far gonna win this game, and I picked the Commanders, and there they are.
You did, huh?
Yeah,
I
you
did.
You got us. You got us on that one. I mean, you don't expect your tight end and your receiver to fumble, right? Back to back drives. Was it back to back drives, or you just don't expect people to fumble that many
Right.
times, right? I think a lot of it had to do with the turnovers, and then just Heineke being a fucking stud of a dude. The guy's playing awesome. I mean, he's not like lights out crazy, but I mean, I think he's a stud. I don't understand.
I would take
understand
him
why
over
they
Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I don't understand why they traded for Carson Wentz in this
He
offseason.
got
I
named
thought
the
he was
starter
a starter.
today for this week.
Yeah, the guy's
Heineke did?
playing awesome.
Yeah, they named him the
He,
starter this week.
rightly so. I mean, he just won.
Yeah.
He won back-to-back games, didn't he?
Well, they interviewed him after the game, and they that question came up on Monday night. They asked him like, "How are you gonna feel if like Carson Wentz?" And to Heineke's credit, he said, "Hey, if it's Carson, if he's the guy, I'm gonna be the best supportive backup there is, and we're gonna roll with that. Like it's whatever coach says. Like that's the kind of guy you want on your team." And they seem
Right.
to be rewarding him for that kind of attitude,
I like the guy, dude. I can't stand the Commanders, but I'm buying a Heineke jersey, dude. Like the dude, the dude's awesome. He's doing everything right.
You should not buy a
in my
Commander
opinion.
jersey just based on the
Just
looks
for
of the
Heineke.
jerseys.
I know why he's buying it
Yeah.
because Heineke throws touchdowns and Garoppolo doesn't.
Yeah, that's it. We have to legit run the ball 20 times or 20 times in
Hey,
a freaking drive to
What's
score.
he has like they put the stat up. He has some ridiculous record when he doesn't throw a touchdown pass. He's like 10-2 or something.
Yeah, dude. It's just
Yeah, you get the ball out of his hands, give it to someone else. Let them take over.
dude, the shit
but-
that Shanahan has to draw up for them to be able to move the ball and run the ball, like there's some super creative runs that he's developing, like where he does like a toss and it's like an inside zone, but he instead of a handoff, he's like tossing it back. Like there's just
Yeah,
it's
I
an
seen
incredible
it.
running game.
There's like it looked like an outside zone. Then here comes Christian McCaffrey on a counter.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know what you're
exactly.
talking
Yeah,
I truly feel that if the Niners were to set up as Debo as a quarterback and just have like this wildcat game, they could almost be just as successful.
just McCaffrey and Debo just splitting reps at quarterback and
Yes.
just wildcat up and
Yeah.
down the whole game. Yeah, for sure. And it just
Hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to you and the 49ers, German, for
Why?
El Jefe, Jeff Wilson, who has been
Oh.
balling for the Dolphins.
he's over there and he's in a system where he's comfortable, man. And McDaniels knows exactly how to use him,
Dude,
and he's
ran
being
for a-
effective.
He ran for 119 yards on Sunday. Andrew was asking me, "What do you think about Jeff Wilson?" I said, "Bro, you start him because he's gonna take over the role."
Well, because I asked you, I had Mostert and Wilson in my lineup, and I on my team, and I was just like, is Mostert gonna get more touches? Is Wilson gonna get more touches? I dropped Mostert. Let's just say I dropped Mostert after this week. I don't need his ass anymore. I got Jeff Wilson now.
Wilson's the guy, and especially with like now, like Tua's been, he's got 9 touchdowns, no picks the last 3 games, right?
Right.
Now that if he can sustain a running game with Jeff Wilson, like getting 100 yards, even 80 yards on the ground, that makes Tua that much more effective now. Like he's already at the top of the league in QBR and passer rating, but now he has a running game to go along with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Like that's gonna be ridiculous.
The funny part is that he'll still get zero credit for it. It's still the
yeah.
argument like, oh, well, you have an incredible running game. Well, you have Waddle and Tyreek Hill. You have the best receiver pairing in the NFL right now.
Yeah, you
Zero
just have to
credit
throw
to
a
Tua.
screen and they'll take it 80
Right.
yards. And that's fine. Like the thing I've been hearing lately is, well, we'll see how he can handle the cold weather games. You guys are running out of stuff to say about him.
Hey,
so just keep
that's
it
a
up.
big factor though. The Hawaii boy coming out there to the cold weather.
Hey, right now
He played in
Miami's
Bama though.
Hey, right, yeah, he
Al-
played in Bama. Like,
It's not that cold in Alabama. It's
Well,
in the
I mean,
South.
but it's not like super. No, but I mean, he
Hey.
traveled. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say like most of his bowl games and the SEC title games are in domes or hot weather
Yeah,
cities.
where does Alabama travel? Alabama not going north at all.
Well, Miami's gonna have to win out then, and to get home
Well,
field
right
advantage to the
right
playoffs,
now
right?
right now they're the 2 seed, so
Mm-hmm.
that loss by the Bills cost them because now Miami
Right.
Oh,
jumped
big
ahead of
time.
them.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, Miami has a bye this week. Then they got the Texans out of the bye. So it's like, if the Bills don't start putting some wins together, Miami's gonna put pressure on the top of the AFC East.
Right.
Well, they're the 1 seed right now, right? And you guys essentially have a game and a half lead over
KC's
the
the one
Bills.
seed. Yeah,
Casey's the 1 seed right now. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, you guys are first place in your division with a game and a half lead over the Bills and a game lead over the Jets.
I think it's a half game because they're 7-3 and the Bills are 6-3.
Right, 6-3, and the Jets are 63
But
as
you
well.
you have the tiebreaker though, right? Because
Yeah, 'cause
the
they beat
Bills
the
have
Bills
They
lost
won the
head-to-head.
head-to-head matchup.
and
Yeah.
the Bills have lost two divisional games. You guys haven't, right?
No, but
Mhm.
if the thing is like, hopefully the Jets start losing, but the Jets have the tiebreaker on Miami because that one victory over them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. You guys want to go ahead and get into the picks for this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead. Tennessee and Green Bay, man. Who we got? Who you got, Drew?
I'm going with the Titans.
OC?
I feel like Sunday was a springboard for Aaron, so I'm gonna go Green Bay.
I think Green Bay is going to put it together. Even though Tennessee, is Ryan Tannehill coming back this week? Do you guys know?
Yeah, no, he played last week.
He played last week, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think I'm going to give it to Aaron Rodgers. And then we're going to go ahead. Let's go the Chargers and the Chiefs. Sunday night football, man.
Can we just quickly talk about how the fuck the AFC West keeps getting like every primetime game imaginable? The Chargers are playing back-to-back Sunday night.
As
What
long
is
as
up with
it's-
that?
As long
Last
as it's
week-
not Denver, I'm cool with it, dude.
last week the Sunday night game got flexed, so that Chargers Niners game was not the Sunday night game.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah, they flexed the Saints and Steelers out and put the Niners and Chargers in.
Nobody wants to watch
Fair
the
enough.
Red Rocket.
Fair enough.
and-
Yeah, no one wanted to watch
and
Kenny
Pickett.
Pickett go against Andy Dalton.
Anyway, I'm
Uh,
taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, same here. The Chargers are just beat up. I'm going Chiefs. OC?
I'll take the Chargers this week.
You just
wanna
want to be different. You just want to be different.
And OC, the game in the motherland, dude.
Oh, yeah.
The Cardinals and the
Oh, that's
Niners.
right. Hey, did you see Kittle post the picture with the little Italian flag and not the Mexican flag?
What?
Oh,
Dude,
why?
someone said, "Hey, make sure that dude gets on the right flight."
My boy plays for San Francisco. How do you not get that right?
But I'm gonna go with the Niners. I mean, maybe they can put something together. The defense is playing a little bit better, and hopefully Garoppolo doesn't take a shit out there. What do you guys think?
I think I'm going with the Niners because the Cardinals haven't won since the new Call of Duty have come out, and they probably aren't winning this game either.
No, they won on Sunday. They beat the,
Yeah,
they beat the
they-
Rams.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kyler Murray he didn't play,
Oh, there
right?
you
Kyle
go,
Murray
there you
Kyler
didn't
Murray
play.
hasn't won.
And well, they beat the Rams without Matthew Stafford, and then Cooper Kupp went down with an injury. That's going to be big,
Yeah.
right, in the long run. The Rams.
Good for
look-
me. I didn't draft him this year.
The Rams look down and out this year, man. What do you guys
Season's
think?
over.
guys
Season
think
is
so?
over. Yeah.
It's not good. It's not a good look for them. But yeah, man, if you want to close this out, and we'll go ahead.
Oh,
We'll head over.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I'll take San Francisco as long as Jimmy G doesn't have to throw the ball. So
Yeah, dude. Let's just
Hand off the ball. Give
Debo
it to someone
McCaffrey in
else.
the backfield,
Hey, hold
dude.
on.
Just wildcat.
Mexico City is like one of I think the highest city in the world.
The elevation,
above
bro.
altitude.
Yeah. I don't know about the
maybe that'll
world.
help his passing game.
May he'll actually fucking put some air under the ball, or what? Might help with the
they're
deep
like
ball.
2 miles. Yeah, they're like 2 miles above like sea level. So
Yeah.
maybe that'll help.
I think it's
with
kind of
his
crazy
deep ball.
because I was thinking about that with Kyler Murray, and I was like, nah, this dude's going to have to just tuck and run the whole time. He's going to be gassed that altitude.
Yeah.
No thanks.
All right, you guys want to go ahead and close it out?
Yeah, sounds good.
Go ahead, man. Do your thing.
All right, as always, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate if you guys like and subscribe, and thanks for the Eagle fans for watching. And you guys find out that y'all frauds.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Peace.